Hello and welcome back to the Honor Aspect and to another edition of NXT Out of 10. It's a big episode of NXT today as we continue to build towards stand and deliver. We had some big matches including Ricky Saints and Tony D'Angelo and much more. A gauntlet eliminator determining the number one contender for the North American title. But we started things off with Fallon Henley and Laney Reid versus Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair. Ren was quickly isolated by Henley and Reid, who wore her down with fast-paced double-team offense. With a strong strategy first, this left Gray fresh for a hot tag. She looked nearly unstoppable from that point on, nearly winning after a faint back elbow splash. The former Evolve Women's champ went for a cross arm bar on Reid. While she was able to block the first attempt, she locked in the second, while Ren locked in her on her submission on Henley, forcing a tap out from Reid. Afterwards, Gray demanded a shot at JC. Lola Vice came out to call her shot. Robert Stone made the number one contenders match between them next week. This is a fairly basic tag match. Ren was the pure baby facing Peril, while Gray got the fiery comeback spot. It was clear who was the priority. Still, the likely women to challenge Jane at Stand and delivered the explosive offense necessary to come off a true threat to one Fatal Influence's reign of terror in NXT. Vice makes sense to challenge Jane as well, but Gray is clearly NXT's top rising priority, and she's a massive upside in and out of the ring. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on then to Sol Ruka, who questioned how her friendship with Zarya fell apart before challenging her to a stand and deliver match. Zarya arrived to call Ruka egotistical for forcing her to stand behind her for almost a full year after taking the Women's North American title from her. While Ruka tried to push back, Zarya stood firm in her criticism that her former friend was only holding her back. This was supposed to be Ruka's moment. She started the segment alone and got a chance to sell her side of this conflict. However, she struggled to fully sell the emotional weight of the moment and was quickly overshadowed by Zarya, who spoke with passion. From the beginning, this angle has felt miscast since Zarya has been a friend in the right, frustrated with how little Ruka did to support her. This has made it all clear that it would likely set the stage for a double turn that would allow Zarya to embrace the fan support behind her. As we then moved on to a dominant showing as Kalani Jordan overwon Thea Hale and sealed the win with a one of a kind. Afterwards, Jordan continued to attack Hale until Jada arrived to run her off. A disappointing match because it was so short. It never really felt like Hale was given a real chance despite her recent title success. While NXT's found a rhythm with less than 3-minute matches due to the speed, this wasn't a speed match. It was basically a squash and clearly highlights that Hale's accidental championship victory didn't push her towards top contention in NXT. While Jordan needed this win after NXT Underground and it's setting the stage for a strong program with Parker, they could have worked a few more competitive minutes here. In my opinion, at least. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. As we then got Hill and Drake opening the North American gauntlet, and Lennox then Dempsey followed with no early eliminations. The last man was Johnny Gargano, introduced by Candice LeRae, who hoped returning home would bring back Johnny Wrestling. Gargano took one hit and was right back with a sleepy near catatonic state on the apron. These wrestlers worked around him. The Dark State star threw Hill from the barricade at ringside. OTM later used the broken barricade to stomp Lennox's head and set up Hill for the first elimination. Hill and Drake went back forth until Hill caught him with a pop-up neck breaker for the second elimination. Dempsey caught Hill with a regal plex for a near fall, but Hill fired back and hit another pop-up neck breaker for elimination. The Birthright attacked Hill afterwards, sending him into the steel sets, and the Poison Pixie dunked Gargano onto Hill to win and earn a shot at Marsborn. The arrival of Johnny Wrestling was a cool twist for the match on paper, but he was mostly just a comedic distraction. The action as a whole certainly a step above the rest of the night so far, and the pace close showed the inexperience of the competitors. Too often shifted into one-on-one matches. A big spot for Hill, who got all the eliminations in the match and established himself as a true threat coming down the line for Bourne. However, Gargano is the next man up, and hopefully this one will reawaken Johnny Wrestling and put him over the North American title. It's a good match. I think that could be very, very fun. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on into the tag title number one contenders tournament, we've got the Culling versus Los Americanos. Earlier in the night, it's revealed that someone laid out Knight and LaFleur backstage, and Los Americanos took their place due to their win over the Vanity Project. Rayo and Bravo tried to quickly set a fast pace in this match, but the power of Nico shut them down several times. Rayo and Bravo both loaded their masks with metal plates to set up a pair of headbutts to spears that knocked him out for the free. A solid tag match to set the stage for a strong final match against the Birthright. While Los Americanos are not NXT stars, they shouldn't be winning tournaments like that. They make sense possibly as challengers. Ray and Bravo are a memorable tag team in the way they've never been on Raw, and it makes them that strong. While they've only included one NXT developmental star, Nico has definitely stood out and has the power to defeat them. He's starting to find his confidence in the ring and hopefully could be worthy of more serious opportunities soon. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. We then got Tony D'Angelo up against Ricky Saints, and with the power and size of Tony D was a problem for Saints early. He was able to utilise the ringside area to wear down the bigger man. D'Angelo tried to shift momentum, but took a spear for the absolute for the first true near fall of the match. The mocking stomps and slaps of Saints annoyed the former Don, who started to roll and hit his own impactful spear. One D'Angelo prepared to choke down an absolute all-ego attack, causing a DQ. The heels tried to lay out into Tony D, but Joe Hendry arrived to make the save before hitting the man that laid him out last week with a standing ovation. The final shot in the ring was Saints and Page fighting over the title while D'Angelo smiled at Hendry, and then it was announced a four-way would take place with a contract signing next week. Saints and D'Angelo delivered in the ring. They never really pushed the pace. The DQ was a disappointing finish, but it did set up that fatal four-way, even if it wasn't the most exciting way. The dynamic stage with two goofy heels messing with champs to come off a more serious and developing tweener still hasn't really gotten it over. It feels like a red tension for Hendry, but at the same time I do think D'Angelo may stand a chance. But overall, I'm going to give this a segment of 5 out of 10. Overall, NXT this week gets a 5 out of 10 from me. The road to stand deliver is not coming as smoothly as recent years, particularly the world title scene. NXT would be smart to pivot to JC Jane v Kendall Gray possibly as a main event. An even bolder way would be to trust in Soul Wrecker against Zarya. Their chemistry is pretty obvious. But Johnny Gargano coming back is interesting. Los Americanos as well. But I don't know, it just felt like this didn't really deliver as much hype as maybe I was anticipating. But obviously, you've still got next week to correct it. It'll be interesting to see. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials. Link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.